Now, Times Media Group is a media and entertainment company which recently relisted after restructuring of the former Avusa group. It announced the appointment of an exclusively male board, with former Old Mutual CEO Kuseni Dlamini named as the interim chairman. The company has a market cap of 1.8 billion rand, but has no PE or dividend yield. And this is an interesting one to talk about. I always thought Times Media was a much better name than Avusa.
Yes,
I would have started there a long time ago.
Well, they were originally called that, and then it changed, and now it's back. But understand what happened here is it was subjected to a sort of semi-private equity buyout led by the Black Star Group. They took out quite a lot of the public shareholders. They loaded up a lot of debt, and what's come back is a sort of much smaller vehicle, but with highly geared financials insofar as it's got all this debt burden. Tightly held, Black Star owns a big chunk. Caxton has taken a smaller stake, like 13%, because they want to be sure that they retain the printing contract. From here, it's very tough to know. The principal asset is the Sunday Times, which has got declining circulation, but still a very solid earner from an advertising point of view.
And pretty much a cash cow.
Yeah, Summer TV
stable
is there. They've got the Hurt and Carter print businesses, because somewhere along the line they bought that whole thing down in Durban, and some printing businesses as well.
Where are we going with Times Media?
It's a funny one. I met the former CEO, a chap called Prakash Desai, always used to start his presentations by talking about the fact that the future is not in the print media, it's in the electronic media, and he was quite right, absolutely, was spot on. But if
his group just didn't follow his lead.
That was the problem, you see. And even today, you know, there's precious little in there. There's Summit, there's iNet, and one or two other things, but the rest of it really is largely traditional print media or associated, and it's difficult really to see what comes out of that. With Sunday Times, as Paul says, this is really the big gorilla. This is the thing that really dictates where Times Media is going to go. The rest of it is all rather peripheral in my view.
Sekunjalo is mopping up print assets at the moment. Any chance that we can see some further interest, or is Black Star better this time?
Maybe. Look, the Sekunjalo people, as you say, not the listed entity, but another part of Sekunjalo has moved in to take that independent news group, which is the Star and all those kind of assets. But I don't know. I mean, to me, this all just looks like reshuffling of the deck chairs on the Titanic. Because the print media, if you look at the ABC numbers for print circulation, they are really, really crashing. If I was in that business, I'd be getting severely anxious. But what can they do? This is a group that's also had a reputation for over-remunerating its senior executives. So through the years, all they did was there'd be a cabal of 5 guys at the top that would be earning more than the rest of the staff put together. And then they'd maltreat the journalists, then they'd tell them that they've got to retrench them, and it's just very...
Connie Malusi used to head up.
That's right.
At one point,
At
CEO.
one point.
Realistically, right now, the chief is Andrew Bonomo, who's the head of the Black Star operation. Mike Robertson, former editor of the Sunday Times, is sort of like the operational leader in the business. But
Barney Mtomboti's just left, editor of
left
Financial
FM,
Mail.
they're merging the FM, they're turning Business Day into a tabloid, they're under severe pressure. Advertisers are not happy, subscribers are departing. This is a sort of fire sale situation.
Fire sale situation, those are quite harsh terms.
Look, there are some very good quality assets within the group. I've got no doubt about that. The question is, how can you turn that to account in any sort of reasonable time frame? And I think Andrew Bonomore and his mates have got the devil's own job trying to do that. How you extract the value out of this one, and there are a lot of hedge funds out there who still think there's a lot of value to be had out of this one. I'm not as yet convinced.
Do you think that Andrew Bonomore can make the difference?
Look, he's a likable fellow, and he's a clever guy, and his team are clever chaps as well. But they really are financiers rather than media people with ink on their fingers. Not that those people were necessarily going to save the world either. But what happens from here sort of comes down to them and how much money they've got. It comes down to Coronation. For some reason, there's a big chunk of the shares owned there. But understand they've got an enormous debt burden to service. So it's all about management of cash flows.
Let's go straight to hot or not.
No.
Times Media Group.
Not hot for me.
Chris?
Not hot
or not?
either, I'm afraid.